What happened in school that still pisses you off when you think about it today? My English teacher senior year underlining a word I used in a paper and wrote in red, "These are not your words. Bitch, it's called a thesaurus," and I was taught to use it instead of writing the same word repeatedly. Bahahaha. That reminds me, when my English teacher sophomore year had us write a paper on prohibition. I wrote a good 5-page paper. The teacher told me it clearly wasn't my work as it was too well written for a sophomore. I told her, if she doesn't believe me, run it through their plagiarism checker. She did, and it came back with 4%. Her response? "I told you it was plagiarized. 4% match." I looked at her like she was a freaking idiot. Even my college expects at most 20%. I had to pee. Then I asked to go to the restroom. The substitute full-time teacher for another class said, "You don't have to pee. Just sit down." After a bit more pleading and begging, I just peed my pants. I was 8 and totally mortified. What made it worse is that the teacher told my parents that I should have spoken up earlier, and accidents happen. I still think I should have peed on her desk. We had this multicultural fair at my elementary school, and the faculty wanted a Japanese kid to do origami at the Japanese station. I was the only kid that knew origami. I was, and still am, Filipino. So, they had me pretend to be Japanese and do the paper cranes and frogs and shoot. It was just ridiculous. Was once accused of cheating/collusion on a homework assignment, as 5 of us all have the same incorrect answer. The other 4 were guilty, but I was not. Stayed behind to prove that my/our answer was correct and that the teacher was wrong. He gave it a cursory glance and said, "Well, that still doesn't prove you didn't cheat." A couple weeks into my freshman year, I transferred into a more advanced science class. On my first day in the new class, there is a quiz. I asked the teacher if I was exempt from the quiz since it was my first day. She said no. I did well, especially for not having been taught any of the material. Here's what bugged me. The final question on the test was, "What country is ticket from?" Of course I got it wrong. The sentence doesn't even make sense. She wouldn't give me any clarification during the test, so once it was graded, I asked what in the world she meant. Turns out ticket is her pet bird. Ticket. For one, capitalize the name of your pet. Also, that's not an appropriate test question. I told the teacher I had no idea that was her bird. She said, "Well, now that you know I'm talking about my bird, I'll give you another chance. What country is my bird from?" I was stunned that she thought I was now equipped to answer this question. I wasn't in class to hear her reveal where her bird was from. I guessed something like Chile. She says wrong. It's Africa. Africa? That's not a country. I was so mad. She also arrogantly proclaimed every so often for the first few weeks, if anyone spotted her making an error, they get an instant A for the year. I can't count how many times I busted her in class, but she never stuck to her word. Last of all, some random girls I didn't even know told the teacher I taught the bird swear words, and I got in trouble for that. I never said a word, much less swear words, to her bird. In 6th grade, we had to write an essay at the beginning of the school year if we wanted to be on flag duty. There were 3 6th graders who were in charge of going outside and running the flag up the pole every morning and taking it down at the end of the school day. I had just come to the school the year before, and it was a very tight-knit small school, and I was a sci-fi nerd who was decidedly not cool. I knew it then too, and overcompensated by trying way too hard, which is the least cool thing you can do. I wrote an essay about how my father was in Vietnam and the flag reminded him of home, how my grandfathers had gone to Germany and the Pacific in WW2, and what the flag meant, about my ancestors who fought under that flag and a different flag in the Civil War, and how 2 of my great-great-great-great-great-grandfathers had fought in the revolution to establish that flag. I wrote about how from 13 stars to 50, through challenges within and without, my family had served their country. Regardless, I wasn't selected. You win some, you lose some. So at the end of the year, we are graduating from 6th grade and moving to junior high. This kid, Andy, who is one of the ones who was on the flag crew and was one of the cool kids, walks up to me just before the presentation and says, Hey, you're going to get a certificate for being on the flag crew. We were supposed to tell you the second week of school, but we didn't. As a kid who wanted to be a writer, I had spent the whole year thinking my persuasive essay wasn't good enough. But it was just this fracker not wanting me to be there when he and his friend went out and did the flag. FCKUND. This one crazy ass teacher punished someone and treated him like a delinquent for the whole school year because this kid yawned at him. My stepfather was severely physically abusive, and I got called to the guidance counselor's office often to explain the bruises. I would tell her what had happened. She'd call my mother. My mother would arrive, tell everyone I was a liar, and that I bruised myself for attention, and the GC always bought it and sent me home. Eventually I just stopped telling her anything other than I was clumsy, because the beatings were always worse when the school called my parents. Edit. Seriously, thanks for the supportive words. I had no idea so many of us had shooty parents and shooty guidance counselors. And no, I never beat the shoot out of him back. Didn't have to. He was in an accident at work that left him a drooling vegetable. Kamasa Beach. We were all taking a class trip to the school library. Librarian said I couldn't drink my water in the library. No problem, I told her. I tightened the lid and put it in my bag, out of sight. Nope. She grabbed my bag, attached to me, ripped it open, and grabbed my water bottle and slam dunked it in the trash can, telling me I said no, like I was a dog. All 15 of us just stared at her, and I wasted my $1 to have my water trashed. During a math test in 7th grade, 2 girls behind me kept whispering and throwing bits of paper at me trying to get me to move so they could copy me answers. They were getting on my nerves, and when I couldn't stand it anymore I turned around to tell them to leave me alone. Unfortunately, I did this at the exact moment that the teacher stood up to check on the class. What pisses me off today is not that I failed the test and got sent to guidance, but that the 2 girls behind were the first ones to yell oh panda is in trouble, snickering at me as I took my walk of shame out of the classroom and telling everyone in the school that I was caught cheating. That was the day I learned the world is unfair. In my last year of junior school, I arrived to find everyone gossiping about 2 friends and I being in trouble for some reason. We'd been accused of bullying this kid. We had to apologize to him. We got called to the headmaster who blew his top, and our form teacher told us that she hoped we'd get bullied when we went to secondary school. Most of which rolled fine, but when we went to apologize I didn't so much as even recognize him, let alone know him or bully him. He turned out to be a good guy, so at least I made a friend for the final 3 months of school. Even to this day I can't guess how this story originated. Last year of primary school, I was being bullied on a daily basis. One kid stabbed me between the shoulder blades with a compass. Teacher, seeing the blood through the back of my shirt, declared that I'd done it myself to my mother/eater. Wow, you guys have made me realize how common this is. Thank you. I don't recall fighting back at all as some of you have asked, but I think I'd been so bullied into submission by that point that I felt it was useless. The kid that did it sadly passed away a couple of years ago. In some fate-laden way I'm now a teacher and pride myself on being kinder to my students than my teacher was to me. Was talking to the guidance counselor about how it was ridiculous to me that a single missed assignment would drop my grade by 20 to 30 points, regardless of its importance. She said, just because something is wrong doesn't mean you should try to change it. Why the frick would a guidance counselor give that type of advice to a freshman in high school? I took a computer programming class in high school, and we had network folders to store our work. One kid found my password on a slip of paper, given passwords that we couldn't change, and was stealing my assignments and changing the name. I had been helping him through the class, but didn't think anything of it. Well, in programming it's very obvious if you steal someone's code, since the odds of you having the same variable names and methods to solve problems would be rare. I got called into a meeting with a teacher and kid and she just started laying into us. She accused me of cheating, telling me she was going to fail me and report me for academic dishonesty, get me kicked out, and told me that I'd never make it in life and not doing anything blah blah blah. I was completely blindsided. I had no idea he was stealing my stuff and turning it in. I tried explaining that I had no idea what she was talking about. She kept telling me I was a liar and stupid and wouldn't be successful, and just kept going on and finally said, never use me as a reference for anything. I'm now a very successful chemist in a very good company and still bitter that this teacher accused me of being a cheater and that I would never amount to anything because of it. I was in the school finals of some general knowledge quiz/competition. The question I was asked was, what is the collective noun for a group of whales? I answered confidently, a pod. The illiterate bloody teacher had a school written on her answer card. Refused to listen when I assured her it was indeed a pod. Her ignorance cost me the grand title, and I was practically in tears in front of the whole school at the injustice of it. Everyone then labeled me as a bad loser. Will never forget it. Still seethe on it from time to time. It happened in 1985. 9th grade. Was loading onto the bus in summer school. A kid sat in a seat that a girl wanted. I told him not to worry about her. She proceeded to slap the shoot out of me. As she was rearing back to slap me again, I pushed her away. At that exact time the driver gets on and sees me pushing her. We both go kicked out of summer school. I was only going so that I could graduate as a junior. She fricked up my whole plan for high school. In the 2nd grade, our class was walking in a single file line outside for recess. It had rained and was muddy and slick. The class bully, a heavy-set mean girl, was walking ahead of me. She slipped in the mud and fell on her ass. She jumped up and immediately pointed her finger at me. That bitch said I pushed her. I got detention for a few days and had to spend that recess with my head down on a desk in the teacher's office. I swore I didn't do it and no one believed me. Wow, that was like 1989 or 1990 and yeah, still pisses me off. My teacher lost my finals, then made me retake them while making passive-aggressive comments about me trying to cheat. 2 weeks later she found my original final on her desk under a pile of papers. Edit. Whoa. Thanks so much for the support and love. Didn't realize this resonated with so many other people. Y'all are the best. In elementary school I had a teacher who made me throw away $3 just because I was playing with it in my desk, and I was devastated because it was the first money I had ever earned. So I'll remember that heartless bastard forever. TL. Doctor, my principal called my mom a bad mom, and my mom killed herself later. They are probably less connected in real life than they are in my head, but I'm still mad. In grade 7, I was accused of writing something mean on the wall the girls' bathroom stall. They determined it was me by doing an expert handwriting analysis, where they took a piece of my homework from class and compared it to the wall, and the us looked the same. That's right, the goddamn us. Arguably one of the least distinctive letters of the alphabet after the L, but that was enough for them to be convinced that I had done it. Somewhat ironically, just that very morning I had gone in to pee during recess in a different bathroom, and someone had etched the word frick on the stall and then covered it in sparkly nail polish. I thought to myself, why would you even do that? What's the point? Anyways, I denied it vehemently. They brought my mom in, and she defended me, saying, if I said I didn't do it, I must not have done it. The principal went off on my mom. I remember sitting in her office, and my mom was holding me, consoling me. The principal said, I can't believe that you are listening to her when she is clearly lying. My mom stopped holding me at that moment and kind of leaned away, clearly embarrassed by the judgment brought upon her by this principal. This was in June. At the start of August my mom killed herself. I know that she did it because she had a hard life and there were many things that contributed to it. But I still feel like one of the things that contributed was that moment in the principal's office when she listened to this woman tell her that her 8th child was a failure. I can't help but think that my mom believed it and saw it as a reflection of her entire life. It makes me sick to my stomach just thinking about that moment. And I was only 13, and I wish I could have told my mom that she was a great mom and that she would have believed me. I still get really angry when I think about it, but I get absolutely irate when I see that principal. I have often thought about confronting her and telling her how absolutely wrong she was about the entire situation, but I don't. I give her a scowl, and she probably thinks I'm still with that loser kid from elementary school who would never amount to anything. I just think how much better my mom was, and she was, because she had faith. A guy threw his cheat paper at me in an exam. The invigilator saw it, but instead of throwing him out of the class he threw me and gave me an F in that exam. In college I joined a new program the first year it was running. The college said there was not enough funding to buy a lot of the equipment and supplies we needed. We even had to buy our own plastic gloves, beakers, and chemicals for the lab. Then the school put up dozens of big screen TVs all over the school. The TVs did nothing but display ads for the college. As a third grader we had silly games, one of which involved pulling each other pants down in front of everyone. Just as someone else did that to me, one of the professors that was known for being a huge cunt spotted me with my pants down and thought I did it by myself. She dragged me to the 5th graders class and made me pull my pants down in front of the entire class to teach me a lesson. I was terrorized, and the bullying that came with it still resides in my unconsciousness. I got told off by the next person down from headmaster for not turning up to a maths lesson because he thought he'd gone to a demonstration against the rise in university tuition fees. He was, however, perfectly okay with the fact that I didn't go to the demonstration and just couldn't be asked to turn up to the maths lesson. Other people who did go to the demonstration got suspended. I had my person and all my belongings searched on 4/20 simply because of who I was, and I was acting lethargic. The asshole vice principal opened my bag and said it smelled like marijuana in the pocket where I kept my cologne. Sent to ICE, my home away from home, because they couldn't prove I was high, but they knew I was. Definitely didn't smoke. Knowing something like this was coming,